Thank you for joining us for this week's message. May God richly bless you.
The scan, so I just have to read through it. But anyway, some time ago, at one of our weekly Bible fellowship at home, Pastor Rick brought up the idea of me giving a message sometime in the future. And me being me, without giving it a thought, just said, of course, yes, I'll do it. Until several weeks back, when Pastor Rick told me about this date today. And then again, without thinking, I just not sure, I'll do it. Until I realized that I really have to do this. I didn't have any problem doing things and ways to serve our Lord, especially when I have to use my hands. It's not a simple deal that you know I love to work with my hands. I know I was given by God the gift to use my hands. But believe me, thinking about this, I realized that if the Lord guided me, on the first time that I did this 4 years ago, if you remember, I was on the mission trip with Pastor Rick in the Philippines. He also asked me then to prepare a message to give to the San Carlos Pangasinan Church. I didn't have a problem doing that, and I thought I was okay, but deep inside me, I was just a nervous wreck. I mean, I don't know how I was able to, to go through that, but thank God through God's guidance, I was able to do it. Prior to knowing about giving this message today, I had thought of several topics and decided on a topic about priorities and time. This was something I already started way back when Pastor Rick asked me about giving a message until, like I said, until today. But after a while, I just put it aside. I thought it was never going to happen. I was still having second thoughts, but after praying and meditating about it, I felt that this topic is what the Lord wanted me to share, especially after coming across the same message when I was nervous. After coming across the same message while I was doing my daily meditation, reading and listening on the daily bread in Dutch, and I have a Bible app, it's called the Bible Gateway on my phone. As I started putting it together, I kept getting more inspiration and guidance. And as I prayed about it, even to the point of remembering what Pastor Rick shared on one of his Sunday sermons about his nephew's hesitation to come to church because he felt that every single message, every Sunday, was somehow about him and his ways. This even made me think if I should change the topic of my message, but through prayers and somehow remember what Pastor Rick told me, that if we feel convicted of what we are hearing, it means that the Holy Spirit is in us and talking to us. Let us pray. Oh Lord Heavenly Father, you know how we all wait here right now. I come before you, Lord. I need you. But through you, oh Lord, talk through me, oh Lord. Touch our heart, Lord. Keep us focused, oh Lord. Don't allow the enemy, oh Lord, to use this to distract us from the work at hand, oh Lord. For it is your word, oh Lord, because you're the Almighty One. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So even before I go with my message, I just want to read a passage on the book of Psalms, chapter 1. It reads, Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He is like a tree planted by springs of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. The way we use our time and how we prioritize things in our life reveals what we really believe to be important in life. The Lord Jesus Christ spent time alone with God the Father, no matter how busy his schedule was. Here's my question. Do we spend enough time and put God on top of our priorities in life? There are a lot of people just living their life, being pushed along, drifting through life, and whatever happens, whatever comes next, choose to live their life and allow circumstances and people to govern their priorities and time. God gave us our time, not someone else's time. He gave us that opportunity He gave us that opportunity, not someone else. And when we stand before Him, we will give an account of our time, not someone else.
Amen.
No one else will give an account of our time. You and I will give an account of our time.
Amen.
People who successfully accomplish their goals in life are careful to prioritize and organize their time. And as believers, priority need to reflect a biblical truth that the only things that will endure are those that are done for God. What are the questions that most people ask often on any given day? We don't normally ask that verbally, but sort of ask it to ourselves, and that is, what time is it? Time is a very, very valuable commodity. It is a measurable period in which circumstances or events takes place or continue. God has a great deal to say about time, because time is the stuff of which life is made. If we read through Ephesians chapter 5, 15 to 20, it says here, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. Do not get drunk on wine, which leads to luxury. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. Speak to one another with songs, hymns, and spiritual songs. Sing and make music in your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks to God, the Father, for everything, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
While Paul said many things about time, he made it very clear that you and I should be very careful how we spend our time. If you want us to be a person God wants us to be, then we have to bring certain areas of our life under discipline, and one of them is our thoughts life, and secondly is our time. Starting on the 15th verse of Ephesians chapter 5, Paul said, be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. So in this particular passage, Paul is saying, there are two types of people that are unwise, and there are two types of people, those that are unwise, and there are those that are wise. Unwise men and women will sort of just waste away their time, but he said, don't be unwise, but be wise, making the most of your time. And it says in verse 16, because the days are evil, and because the days are so evil, and if we are not careful, our time will be taken up, crowded with things that have no eternal value, things that won't elevate us or educate us or edify us spiritually and spiritually, but things that will drag us down and cause us to drift. So Paul says we have to make the most of our time because the days are evil. So don't be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. If you read Psalms 31, because it's a little bit long, but if on your own time, just go through the whole chapter. This chapter reminds us that It is easy to waste time, easy to drift in life, easy to allow minutes and hours and days and weeks and months and years to go by, and then look back and ask ourselves the question of what happened to all the time. What happened to our life? Thinking and realizing here we are at the age of our life, and what happened? In verse 14 and 15 it says, "But I trust in you, Lord. I say you are my God. My times are in your hand." That is saying our time, our lifespan is in the hand of God. How does God relate to time? God is timeless. There is no such thing as God being on time or progressing in time. In Psalm 90 verse 2, it reads, "From everlasting to everlasting you are God." It simply means that God is above and beyond time, and that He is a timeless God. Our time are in His hands. He not only created it, but rules over time events, over the events of time. There is no such thing as being outside the knowledge of God or beyond the power of God. He knows all things, and He rules over all things in time. God is controlling all time, no matter what it is, so that our lifespan, some live 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years. I'm in my 60s. My mother-in-law's in her 80s. We have a span of time, and when the time is over, no one person, no matter what status in life, nothing will keep us alive 1 second longer, that God has set His time limit for all of us. Now when we think about that, we should think how we should use and prioritize our time.
Amen.
The way we use our time reveals where our values are in life and where our priorities are. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10 is a very clear, precise word about how we have to spend our time. It says that each one has received a special gift from God, and we have to use it. Put it to work and serving one another as good stewards. Good stewards of the manifold grace of God. First of all, our spiritual gifts, our talents, all our abilities are act of the grace of God. He didn't have to give it to us. He gave it to us because He loves us. These gifts have to be used in such a way that is helpful to other people, that you and I are helping and serving one another. How can we do nothing when time is a gift from God, in which we have to employ all that we have to the glory and honor of God? Does it mean that we have to run and hurry to make a wise investment of our time? Most of the time, that is not even wise at all. But when we can make haste, when we need to make haste, when we need to make the things that God has called us to do, sometimes we wonder how many people say we just can't find time for God. When they have no problem finding time with their phones, or watching their favorite shows, or eating or dining in their favorite restaurants, or maybe going on vacation, and so many different things that they think are more important than God. Sometimes they think that they deserve what they do or have because they work hard for it. What if some of this will be taken away from us? In the book of Daniel, I was going through this, particularly on chapter 4, verse 29 to 34. Anyway, on the book of Daniel, in chapter 4, you remember that he had a dream, and he called Daniel. He did a name. His name was going to change. But anyway, on the dream of King, how do you say it? He interpreted that dream about his falling. There are things that he has to do, but he think he was a mighty king and everything. But in the end, what Daniel told him about, or the interpretation of his dream, happened because he didn't heed the warning of Daniel. So on verse sorry, just so on Daniel chapter 4 and verse. It's verse 29. It says, 12 months later, this after Daniel had told him about the interpretation of his dream. He didn't listen to him. Then 12 months later, on verse 29 of chapter 4, it says, 12 months later, as the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon, he said, "Is not this the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" The words were still on his lips when a voice came from heaven. "This is what is decreed for you, King Nebuchadnezzar. Your royal authority has been taken from you. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like cattle. 7 times will pass by for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdoms of men and gives them to anyone he wishes." Amen. It is amazing that people will say that I don't have time for this or no time for that. So these are say that I don't have time for this or no time for that, but actually is saying, this is what I value in life. Where and how I spend my time is what I say are the priorities of my life. Because the truth is, most people will do or get around to doing things what they want to do. When people say, I don't have time, they really are saying, I don't want to. Do you know when is the best time to savor the word? It's through prayer. Nothing saves more time than prayer because we can ask the Lord to give us direction, give us wisdom. In the morning when we spend time with Him, He already knows every single second of the day and what's going to happen. He knows as we are seeking His divine guidance and direction, He knows how to help us avoid some things and be at the right place and the right time. He knows how He's going to intervene in our schedule and plans for the day. There is nothing more special than spending time with Him. There are things in our life in which we waste time because we don't ask God, and all of us do it if we are not careful. It doesn't matter and makes no difference what we are doing in life. The greatest time saver in life is to ask God to show us what to do, show us how to do it, show us what's the next step. And so when we think about spending time, we think about what are the things that bring God the greatest sense of satisfaction and glory in our life to Him. Time spent in meditation and prayer and being quiet to Him. Time spent and feel His presence so He can show us how He loves us, to show how wonderful He is as God, who created us, in this universe, and so He can pour His love into us, and we can love Him back. We can discover what He is like. How much time have we spent alone loving God in this past week? God wants time alone with us. Amen. He created us to love us. He doesn't need us. He wants us. And if we spend little or no time for Him, what we are saying is that There are more important things in life, but spending time with Him is not a priority in our life until we have a problem and start calling upon Him and start telling Him, Lord, I need this. Lord, I need that. Help me here, help me there. Just throwing all these prayer requests at Him, but we don't spend time with Him and loving Him because our sense of value, as such, we don't value time with God. That much it is so easy for us to justify we don't have time, and why our priorities are such. We can say, for example, I'm just a homemaker, got a husband, got children, and a house to take care of, and all of this takes time. Have you thought of that being a homemaker is maybe God's will for her to be a godly wife and to raise godly children? What is the will of God for our life? What are His plans? His purpose? What are we headed? Where are we headed? Are we just filling our time here on earth going to work? Or is there a sense of direction, purpose we want to accomplish in life? We don't want to look back in life and say, now what? Was my life a waste? Did we live it? Did we exist? Did we spend in wisdom? Did we invest wisely? What happened? I think that even if we are already in our 70s, or 60s, or 50s, or maybe younger, that we should seek God's will of what He wants us to do with the rest of our life. To ask God to give us direction, to ask God how He wants to invest the rest of our life. Because if we didn't, we're just going to drift in life. Maybe let other people to govern our life. Let circumstances to crowd us, push and shove us, demand and require of us. Then our life is just going to go by, and we're going to look back and say, I was 40, and now I'm 60. Now I'm 70, or maybe you're 17, and now you're 30. If there's something we have to be concerned with, it's our lives. God has given it to us, and we will be held accountable. One can be a worker or a businessman and say, my life's purpose is to do so and so. But just because they work for somebody else doesn't mean that is their purpose. That may be their vocation in the midst of fulfilling God's plan and purpose for their life. God will take every circumstances of life and He will turn it into something good if we will allow Him to do it. So we cannot say we wasted 30 years working in our job. But to me, we didn't. We still have to make a living or some sort. And if we are giving our best where we work, learning the skills we are required to learn at work, being disciplined with our life at work, then when God sees fit to change that, then what happens? He may free us up in the most amazing ways. Use us in a different way. So it's not a waste of time. Some people may say, I'm going to start serving God after I'm done with my career or after I retire. No, we don't. And to think how many people are living just to retire. They sound like a fool. What are they going to do? Eat, drink, and be merry, and have themselves a good time, and then die? That's not scriptural. If we will invest our time serving the Lord, I believe in most cases, not all cases, because the Lord has a plan for each of us. Amen. Those people will live longer, happy lives. Amen. If you have not trusted Jesus, start trusting Him as your Savior, putting your life in His hands. Ask Him how He wants to use the rest of your life. Amen. He may tell you quickly, He may tell you in a period of time, but for sure He will tell you ahead of time. One of these days we will stand before Him and give Him an account of our life. And we want Him to tell us, well done, good and faithful servant. I'm going to make you manager of a great deal here in heaven. I want us to answer this question in closing. If you are to answer this question, how would you answer it today? How would you answer it today? What are we living to accomplish between now and when God calls us home? What do we want to achieve in these days, weeks, months, and years? Are we utilizing our time and priorities to the best of our advantage and to the glory of God? Or do we find ourselves drifting and wasting and filling our lives with things that have absolutely no eternal value? May God grant us the wisdom for our life come to make the most of our time. Our Lord, Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you, O Lord, for your wisdom, O God, reminding us, O God, that indeed we have a lot of priorities, O Lord, in our life, but we want you, Lord, to be on top of our priorities, O Lord. We have so many times, Lord, in our life, Lord, that we want to spend time, Lord, serving you, O God. Work in our life, Lord. Your will we seek, Lord, for everything, O God. Thank you, O God, for today. Thank you, O Lord, for these words. Thank you, Lord, for your love. Thank you, Lord, for your presence. In Jesus' name. Amen.